So to move into the bigger discussions for tonight, did you have any preference of which one you'd like to cover first? Combat, classes, or a random topic?
Yeah, let's talk about classes.
All right. Well, speaking of primary and secondary classes, and this is actually something that came up in our Discord this week. I noticed, and yes, just because I'm not around doesn't mean I don't notice what you guys are talking about. Sometimes it just goes too fast for me to jump in. But ideas for augmentation for classes. And this one comes from, I think it's Balin, B-A-L-I-N, from the forums. And Balin says, you will be able to swap your augmenting class from my understanding. From my understanding, that will require some form of price or quest. Okay, so from a point of view, this is a form of strength of versatility. But what about if you like the one you have? Maybe you could do the same type of quest or price to go deeper into the same augment class, or maybe you just get experience in that augment, so there are some of which you are stronger. Could work like the professions, where in a way you could only max one of them. And that's like a few ideas they're suggesting. We obviously haven't really seen a whole lot on, you know, how the augmentation system is going to work, but what are your thoughts? Also, Ashes in Near, cheers. Thank you so much for the resub.
Yes. Thank you much.
So,
Yeah, thoughts on augments?
Yep.
Yeah, so just wanting to go, they were kind of talking about, just going deeper into an augment and kind of getting more identity. I think that would be good. I think that can kind of be implemented through the type of skill you pick based on, changing the damage type or changing how it looks. I think in terms of like the main example is like a charge, changing it to a blink or something of that nature. I think that's a good idea. And it's important that, like they've said before, that they kind of want the secondary archetypes to not drastically change your main class, but the augments being the way to change it. So I think those allowing you to kind of give an identity to your character is important.
Right.
Yeah, this was I'll be honest, this was an interesting conversation that Balin brought up, and I'm not 100% sure yet if I follow exactly what they were trying to say, but I guess almost like the individual augments that you could have, like the 4 schools from each archetype, or each of the secondary archetypes. The 4 schools that you can augment with, maybe you could level each of them up separately, almost like a skill tree. I believe that's what he was trying to say.
That's kind of the hint that I got as well. It was a little bit convoluted.
Yeah. So I guess it didn't really come across very clearly, but I'm just trying to pick up the intent of the post, which I think I got it. And I would personally think I kind of like that, but that would add an extra depth of complexity to Intrepid's tuning for sure.
Right, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it would. Balin says it would emphasize 64 classes, but I think it would emphasize 64 classes times 4 augments each, which would kind of tweak it a little bit, or augment schools in each. I think I would make it a little bit too tricky.
And before I get into my opinion, first off, hello Lily, we are doing really well. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Mad Hatter says, this makes me feel like how there are different types of Jedi and Sith, even though they have access to the same powers. And then at the end, Nick responds to Balin saying, archetypes already prevent people from being jacks of all trades. Classes will simply help shift your role in the party to a different side, but it won't completely change your role. And I agree with that. And I think that Balin was trying to kind of find a way to like specialize your class, but that's just the point of the augment system. You can specialize further into your class by choosing the secondary that is equal to your primary. So cleric, tank, etc. Or you can adjust your specialization by doing a different secondary, and that's how that adjusts. And I think some of the things to remind ourselves, especially with new people entering into the community, is not everybody is aware of these old conversations that we've had. I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't even know that the character creator was, a video they put out about this time of year, a year or so ago, right? So there's still like, even though there's a wiki, that's like an immense amount of information for a new person to pour through. And if you're not as super nerdy into it like I am, you're probably not going to spend hours in there. It's going to be a bit overwhelming because there's like sheets of text.
Oh yeah.
Ashtonera says, do you think it should cost anything to switch specific augments for your skills? I don't mean change secondary archetype, just switch from one element to another, for example. I think secondary, I don't know. That's hard. I feel like the way that you augment your skills is your secondary. Remiriel. Oh.
Yeah, I think what Nera is trying to say is oh, thank you for the follow there, Lily. But yeah, Nera, the way it's set up with the augments being able to, I think the wiki said something about still having to go back to town to switch them out. I don't think it should cost anything to switch out your augments, or if it does, it shouldn't be anything major. Save any kind of major cost or anything for switching out the secondary. Because exactly, like the elemental stuff from the mage, there's like the teleport school and then the elemental school. Yeah, I think switching out between those for a skill on your primary isn't something that should cost a lot myself.
And that's the thing is like, because for one, we don't know how mage primary is going to work in terms of the different elements, right? But to further extend to that, we don't know how mage secondary is going to work.
Yeah, it's definitely tough because if you can just change whatever elemental school that you are using, and then that gains you a benefit versus frost, fire, etc., then being able to change that on the fly does seem a little bit kind of broken, but
yeah. But like the way that I think about it is I think your actual augment, your secondary class should cost to change. But if your class comes with like, let's say mage has the fire, water, ice, etc. I think it shouldn't maybe cost you to adjust your specification at that point within that class. It would just be unless it has something to do with your skill tree, then it'd be a reallocation of your skill tree points, So yeah, there's that. Or maybe a shrine. Yeah, exactly. Raka. I agree with that.
Actually, Nera, I mean, I think I actually do kind of like that better, because the secondary archetype, changing that out is going to require you to go back to town for sure. Mm-hmm. Like that's a guaranteed, and I think everyone's kind of agreed like that's sure, you should go back to town for that. Why not? But right. Yeah, just to change augments while you're still in the in that same secondary. Yeah, I'd be perfectly okay with it, switching that out outside of combat at any time.
Okay. And maybe even if a balancing thing for it would be a profession to make some sort of scroll that would allow you to do that, but
yeah, give the scribe something to do.
Both of those are good ideas. I like them. All right, so then another topic on this is from Wendigo Actual, and we actually copied this once previously. Hello, Quarian, welcome in. And this is on Echoknights. And if you don't know, I believe Echoknight is a bard. I forgot which one it was actually, to be honest. But he's hoping that bard or rogue could have illusions as one of their augments with the fighter. Or instead of, wait, hold on. Augments with it just being the fighter and rogue. Or bard secondary to literally turn yourself into a D&D Echoknight, which if you haven't tried an Echoknight, they are crazy. They're also a little bit on the sad boy side, evil boy side.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit. But what are your thoughts on being able to have an illusion? I could totally see that as a fighter summoner thing.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Summoning Echoknight illusions.
Yeah, definitely summoner. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Illusions, and then like how great will they be? You know, are they just going to stand there and do nothing? Will they kind of move a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the kind of trickster type things definitely goes with the rogue / summoner kind of way.
Yeah. And I could totally see that.
Oh yeah, I could see a fighter summoner doing that for sure.
Yeah. And I know that there's already, other oh my gosh, Rocco, what are you going on about over there? But I know that there's already a predetermination for things like what this X that is going to be, but that doesn't mean that we can't like fantasize a little bit on how it might adjust, or how it could potentially end up being. But I mean, I'm still there for the whole tank being called something else. Or just tank being called something else in the first place. Yeah. But, the other one is a simple class suggestion, also by Wendigo. So they've been posting a lot on the forums lately. And one of the things that they would like to see is a D&D styled barbarian with a proper rage mechanic. And both of you are tanks, and so this is a great question for both of you. What do you think on that? That perhaps locks you out of spell casting altogether, but the benefit is that you get boosted strength and defense, making you a sheer massive health bar tank, like in D&D. Any rage?
Yeah, anything to enrage is good. That's a good thing. Yeah, it sounds interesting. And actually change the way your character looks. Definitely.
Yeah. I would be for that.
I'm not sure how I feel about that for a tank specifically. I think for a fighter type that'd be pretty cool. To have maybe one of the archetypes kind of spin that way, or even have a core fighter skill that would do something like that.
Yeah, I could see it. An off tank thing.
But,
Fighter tank.
Yeah, I'm just hoping at least for core fighter or core tank stuff, it's a little bit more in depth than something like that. Just because to me anyway, I could be an outlier here, but the tank, the fantasy of being a tank doesn't, to me, I don't picture going enraged and just getting a massive hit point bar and just dealing with literally taking hits to the actual face.
Yeah.
But I think for a fighter it could be a pretty cool thing, because half of the enraged thing is you take more damage and you deal more damage, so it's kind of like a dual-edged sword. I could see that being an emergency, just burn the boss down real quick or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hello, Grub. I managed to make it to this one. Yay! Welcome to see you. Happy to see you. Oh my gosh. Remy Ariel.
Yeah, welcome
Get
on
out.
in there, girl.
A few other people were talking as well. Diggs ended up responding saying to be balanced, Barbarian would need the same number of active skills and passive skills and augments as the original 8 primary archetypes. But Desmerizing says Druid, which it was like 100% kind. I would love to see Druid. And then Animus says they would like to see Monk. So I think those would be super awesome.
Yeah, Desmerizing has a neat theory on that, though.
Yeah.
With how Druid didn't even manage to be one of the 64 class names. Maybe it's the first archetype coming out as far as a future patch.
Right, and actually the title of that one was actually for like class suggestion for post full release, like a DLC, an expansion type thing. So I could totally see all of those, because I mean, for myself, I'd love to see a Druid class. I'd probably immediately drop whatever I'm playing to try out Druid.
Yeah, it's definitely a good class. And just shapeshifter, yeah. You see that in pretty much most MMOs. It's an interesting theory, yeah, that they didn't add it into any of the 64 names. So yeah, it's probably on the roadmap.
Do you imagine?
I've been asking kind of since day one about where that is.
Could you imagine what would a barbarian ranger look like? Or ranger barbarian, for that matter? Would they just like snap their bow and start picking up and throwing rocks? Ah. Like the Hulk from the movie, just throwing cars.
Grabs 2 bows and starts whirlwinding with bows.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, you mean near like what happened when I was playing a ranger and then I tamed Aikiachi in World of Warcraft? I had a little white lion next to me the whole time. It was fun. I honestly thought that was really cool that I could like tame a quest creature and then get rid of the quest, start the quest, and then essentially use Aikiachi to take out Aikiachi.